Sophia, I was thinking, given that every other chat that we had, you started with social now, it will be my turn today to start with Sophia. Sophia,
Mhm.
been thinking a little bit about the idea of whether the year is done. So I often hear people saying, oh, the year is at its end, silly season starting early this year, the whole idea of the year is done. Your feeling about that?
So today is 13th of August, and I asked the AI machine how many days are left in the year. It said 140 days. That is a significant amount of days left. And we can still do a lot of things in 140 days. You think of you can do a lot of things in 14 days. The year is definitely not done yet. And one time or another, within the following couple of weeks, somebody's going to say, we'll get to this next year. But that might be a waste if we start doing that too early.
So something I've been thinking about in my personal capacity. I also have a little exercise group with a bunch of ladies, and the group has been relatively consistent in showing up and doing what they're supposed to be doing. But I've decided to kind of run a bit of a challenge, and the thought behind it is not about okay, get yourself into fit form in a month. But the reality is, we've been putting things in place the entire year for you to ramp up and actually move yourself to a new level of fitness or a even healthier lifestyle in the next 4 weeks. And I think that's been a very cool thought in my personal capacity as well, is what did I not get to yet this year that I've set out to do this year and I still need to be working on? Or maybe what have I been working on consistently and been learning and preparing so well for? And it's just a question of flipping the switch and moving into, now I'm going to start implementing it. Now I'm
just going to actually do something. Yeah.
Oh, so that's kind of the thought that I've been pondering on quite a lot since the start of August, actually.
I was a couple of trips ago when I was flying back to Cape Town, sitting next to a lady who was reading Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. And I don't tend to talk to people on the plane. I usually sit there with my headphones and I'm doing puzzles or whatever. But this is a fantastic book and something that we talk about quite often. And as we were heading into the approach, I was asking her, so what do you think about this? What have you been learning? And she said, my sister gave me this book 2 years ago. And it's been there on my bookshelf. She says she sees it every day. And she's been putting off reading it for 2 years. And as she was coming on this trip, she picked it up on the way out and she put it into her handbag. Because it's a small book, you can read it in 2 hours. And she loved it. And it is such an impactful thing to read. And it got me thinking about, so she said, I've been putting this off for 2 years. So we've been putting things off probably for the first 220 days of this year. So what can we actually do in the 140 days that are left? Because we don't have to wait for next year to start.
Yes, and I think sometimes it's as subtle as, maybe it's not just what we do and what we don't do. Maybe it is as subtle as noticing and looking back and reflecting on the year that has gone past in the last 8 months and saying, what is my environment, my situation, my work life, my personal relationships, what patterns am I seeing in terms of preparation that maybe are things that I can learn something from and actually start applying, so I don't remake some of the mistakes I've made in the past, or so that I do simplify or become better at certain other things. And I think that's a question of reflection as well. So as much as it's a question of, okay, where do I need to just pull the trigger and get going because I've got 140 days left of this year, maybe there's another side to that coin as to, what is the turning point? Maybe you have been in preparation phase for the last 8 months and now it's a question of transitioning. Maybe it's a question of pruning. We know that this is pruning season as well. I just walked past, my little girl was very upset. We walked past where we live. There's a lady with rose bushes, with something rose bushes, and she trimmed them down so far. And my little girl was so upset. She's like, "Why did you cut all the flowers off?" And I said, "So it's necessary for it to create new, beautiful flowers. So we need to sometimes prune to be able to do that." So I think maybe August resembles that for you. Maybe it's a question of pruning and deciding, what relationships maybe are the most important relationships that you should be focusing on. What are you learning from? I've just recently had a family scare. In terms of someone that's really ill and has to go through quite a lot of things in hospital, and she's doing much better. But I think reflecting on that and going, what does she maybe need to change in her life so that she has a healthier life going forward? But what do I need to learn in terms of being present and being in the moment going forward? So I don't think it's necessarily as hard and fast as starting a new habit, or sometimes it is that. Maybe it's doing the thing you've been putting off. Maybe it is a question of looking back and saying, what do I need to start transitioning on as well?
This part of the year tends to speed up, or it starts to feel like it, and it becomes more full. And heading towards the end of the year, things get packed and there are more commitments and things. And it's very easy for us to think that I'll start next year. But that's the thing that we said last year. And it would be a letdown if you just wait and waste another 140 days to get some traction on the thing that you want to do. And oftentimes, as we know, maybe just getting going, it leads to quicker progress than you thought. Because we tend to build something up in our minds where we think, it needs to be perfect, it needs to be massive for it to count. But as soon as we start making the progress, then we start seeing it happen and moving in the direction that we want to go. And doesn't have to be big or perfect, but it will still be rewarding and a sense of achievement by just taking small steps.
Yeah, I think the thought is making progress rather than perfection. Like really focusing on what do I need to step out on, what do I need to do a little bit differently. Maybe it's a thought process, maybe it's looking after yourself. Maybe the last 8 months haven't been very particularly healthy in terms of your personal health. Maybe it's a question of, okay, well, stop struggling. Your body's trying to tell you something. This is an opportunity to go and have it checked out, or to do what you're supposed to do so that you can be more effective, more efficient, and end the year off strong, versus just carrying on with the same mundane things. It can be a turning point. You can choose to make any day. It doesn't have to be in August. Doesn't have to be today. Any day a turning point. But I think there's a few core thoughts. Where am I going? Do I know where I'm heading? Do I know what I want to achieve, what I want to work on? Do I understand what I want for myself, my family, my work, my relationships? And then being able to step out from there and reflect and make certain new decisions based on it.
So like an exercise we did with a client 6 months ago was to have everybody write a letter to themselves in the future. 6 months into the future. So that would be next week. And I have my letter in the book there on the table, which we'll be reading next week. But we can do the same thing now, where you write yourself a letter to your future self, which you will read on 31st of December, and say, this is what I want to do for the next couple of days. It might be a simple thing. It might be more of a commitment than something else. But why not do that? Write down what you want to do, what you don't want to do, what you want to focus on, what you want to stay away from, whatever it is that you feel is necessary for you, that will put your future self in a better position, that you will be thankful for at the end of this year. And I think anybody can think of something that might be beneficial to you that you can start doing today.
Yeah, I think a nice way of phrasing that, just to take away from the whole idea of what do I want, what I don't want. Sometimes that can become quite a daunting thought, is what would I be proud of? What would I, at the end of the year, look back and go, I'm so proud of you for showing up and doing that thing. Whether it is showing up for a workout, whether it is showing up and being yourself at work, whether it is standing up for yourself, whether it is building a relationship, committing to more engagement, or being more open to opportunities like we had in our previous chats. Think about what you would really want to say on the 31st of December this year. What would you like to say? I'm so proud of myself for being able to do that. And write that down. And then when you get to 31 December, you can open it up and read it, and hopefully you'll be able to be proud of it.
The one thing that I recall that I wrote down, so I don't remember all the detail, but I wrote down, don't give up. And I don't think I have, and I'm proud of that. So that is a simple thing, although it sounds simple, but it's not necessarily easy. That is as simple as it can be. It's just keep on chipping away. And I think it's benefited me this year. Everybody's going to have their own thing that they need to pay attention to. But it's a cool exercise just to give you a little bit of focus of the year's not done. There's still something that you can do. And I like the idea of phrasing it around something that you can be proud of. What will make you proud? You don't have to share it with anybody. You can just reflect on it and say, 140 days from now, I feel proud of myself for doing this thing.
And I think two thoughts that are coming up as you said that is, one, make sure you write it down on a piece of paper with your hand and a pen and a piece of paper, not on your cell phone. You really want to go through that exercise of committing yourself to something. It's very easy to erase.
It's different. It's different to write it out.
Yes, and I think the other thing is phrasing it in a way that you are already proud of it. So it's not a question of writing something. So I want to be proud of myself for this on the 31st of December. It's literally writing the letter saying, I am proud of myself for X, Y, or Z. So that it actually becomes really real for you. Good.
Yeah, good quick chat. Thank you.